Hi everyone, I'm Kim. Welcome to Crafty Chaos Emporium. If this is your first time, thank you so much for giving me a shot. Today I am going over the last few days of my holiday with Tracy at Travel Crochet. We'll be looking at markets. I had a market yesterday, so a little bit of market prep, a little bit of market recap, going over some things that I've made and a couple of changes that I want to make. Plus I've got a few new things that I've crocheted and want to share the patterns with you. And I do have a shameless plug for a friend's business, crochet related. So hopefully that's something that might be relevant to you. You might have seen in my last video, I filmed from the beach up in Hervey Bay. Beautiful, beautiful spot, and it was just amazing to get away from winter for a week. The day that I flew out was almost a cyclone. There was some question about whether the aeroplane would actually get off the ground, and it did. Once we got above the clouds, obviously beautiful, and then by the time it got up to Queensland, which is the state above mine if you're not local, it was just absolutely gorgeous. So fabulous weather there, except for obviously Murphy's Law, the one day that we had markets on the Sunday. It poured every other day, absolutely beautiful. So never mind, Tracy had a great day at the markets, and I'm sure that you've seen her market recap video. While I was up there, since I recorded last, we did a quick trip to Spotlight because they had a sale and they had some new yarn. Tracy was lucky enough to get some of that beautiful variegated yarn from India out of the mill ends. One single ball there in amongst a whole pile of 8-ply junk. So that was lucky for her. Less lucky for her was I had a plan to take up some of mine to share with her and forgot. I also forgot to take up the bags that I said I was going to take. And so just generally, I'm an all-round horrible person with a shocking memory, and I forgot everything that I said I was going to do. We went to Spotlight, grabbed some yarn. I'm just going to quickly show you that one. Look, it's not my favorite, to be honest. I mean, it feels gorgeous, and look at that blue. Like, look at that blue. That is just a stunning royal blue. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's great to work with. It doesn't shed, but it is a shiny velvet, and I personally feel like there are some things that it suits and some things that it doesn't. So I'm going to just have to be a little bit more picky about what I do choose to use that yarn for. But anyway, it was nice to try. So that's the new Spotlight polar, I want to say polar fleece. I would absolutely not call it a polar fleece because that reminds me of polar fleece, which is not this. So I got that blue, I got a bright blue, I got a nice blue, I got a nice mint, and oh, they're up here behind. No, you can't see them. Anyway, I got a nice mulberry sort of colour. They're really, really beautiful colours. I just need to be a little bit more picky about what I choose to make with them. What I did make so far, and how brave am I? And I'm so grown up, having spent so long with Tracy, and she's knocking up all of these licensed characters and things like everybody else except for me does. I bit the bullet and I made a stitch using the Spotlight glitter yarn. Beautiful, turned out fabulous. And then I thought, okay, bluey. I used that new yarn from Spotlight to make a bluey, and this is as far as I got. Look, it's not my favorite. I probably will finish it, but I've put it aside for now. I'm not happy with it, and I'm not gonna mention the pattern. It was a free pattern I found on Instagram. No issues with this part of it so far, but the eyes were a white oval, and when I followed the pattern exactly, used the same size hook and everything, and they came out so big that they sort of met in the middle and wrapped around the sides. So not criticizing the pattern at all because it could have been user error, but they did both turn out exactly the same. So I'm going to have to wing the eyes, and then I'll go back and do the arms and the legs. But like I've said, shiny stuff definitely has its place, and it is gorgeous. This yarn is absolutely gorgeous, and that blue is stunning. And I really like that ice blue down there. It's sort of giving me Frozen vibes. But anyway, I'm going to finish that, and then I'll seriously consider what happens next with the rest of that yarn. So yeah, look, I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Feels amazing. Feels absolutely amazing. So yeah, the other thing was it was a little gappy. So I'd probably have to just check out the hook size again and tweak the hook size. So that was our quick yarn haul from Spotlight. What else did we do up there? I made a few things. So I made some turtles, and I'll put the pictures up here for you to have a look at. I made some sea turtles. Did I? Yes, I did. I made watermelon turtles. I made a strawberry turtle. I made some jellyfish with the Aldi yarn, and I absolutely adore making jellyfish. I love making jellyfish. And I'll talk more about them later at my markets because the jellyfish were really effective. I made some key rings and anything else I made, I just can't remember. So photos up here because I know Tracy sent me a couple of photos of things that I'd made, and I took some myself. So it's funny, when I got up on the day that I was going home, Tracy had hung all of the jellyfish that we made from hooks around her house, and because her house is a lovely sort of seaside colour, and the jellies were hanging on white bricks, it just looked absolutely gorgeous. So I kind of hope she sells them. I kind of hope that she leaves them there because they looked really good. So yeah, not much else. Just lots of chat, lots of crochet, lots of Chris driving us around to have a look at different places. Very strange on the last day. Big fog, only coastal fog. And I did forget to mention to Tracy after I spoke to her was as the plane took off and I looked back over her way, the fog was just hanging around over all the land and just over the ocean. So by the time we got to the airport, there was no more fog. And taking off, you could just see that super low cloud right along the coastline there. And that was, well, my plane left at 2:30. So by 2:30 in the afternoon, it was still foggy over the beach areas. And speaking of beach areas, again, if you've been watching Travel Crochet, and I apologise if you haven't, you might want to pop over there and have a little look. There was a market on the way to the airport, so I hopped out and had a quick look around the market. It was only very small. And I met Turtle Lady. Turtle Lady is another market vendor who's been causing some issues for Tracy's market. I won't go into all of that because that's her story to tell, but I met Turtle Lady, and I'll say she wasn't rude, but she was very difficult to talk to. I was just trying to have a chat and look at her stuff, and yeah, she was a difficult person to have a chat with, which is unusual for a market vendor because market vendors are usually chatty to try and sort of keep you there and get you interested in buying things, but not that person. And I will note that she had a few of Tracy's things on her tables marked up a large amount. So anyway, that was an experience. I met Turtle Lady. So Turtle Lady's real, and Turtle Lady is not the most pleasant person I've ever met. Anyway, I did buy some beautiful octopus earrings from another lady at the markets, and that was fun because I do love a good octopus. So that's pretty much all I've got from the holiday, I think. Anything else I'll just have whacked up here in the photos and you can have a quick look at that because I've probably forgotten to talk about it. So yeah, good trip, nice things to look at out the window. And then by the time I got back, that was Wednesday night, I just had a couple of days to sort of get myself together and get ready for Saturday markets, which was yesterday. And it was windy. Thursday, Friday, oh my goodness, it was windy. On Thursday, I walked down the road to the shop, so that's about a 4-kilometre round trip. Each time I took a step, I could feel the wind blowing my foot. At one point, the wind was actually blowing me sideways and I was having a bit of trouble keeping my footing. Now, that was because I was also in a bit of a wind tunnel between some tall buildings, but it was a super duper windy day. And if you're one of Litz's people, you'll have seen on her video out the window, she had some issues with the wind there too. So it wasn't looking good for market. So in preparation, I took the canopy off my gazebo because that sort of acts like, it catches the wind and it tends to lift it a bit. So when it's windy, I take that off. I did have my walls up, but after all of that, there was only a light breeze, not even any big gusts. So that was really good. It was a beautiful sunny day eventually. It was a 7 o'clock start, which was much more civilized than some other people's markets that you have to get up at 4:30 for. But yeah, 7 o'clock start. Setup, not my greatest. If you've been around for a bit, you'll know that I've had some issues with setup. It wasn't my worst, but it wasn't my best. I'd say by the time I got there at 7, went and found out where my spot was, moved my car closer to the spot so I could unpack. I probably got started setting up around 7:20ish. And I think I finished at 9:30. So that was a little over 2 hours. What took me so long was I had difficulty with the you'll see in the videos anyway. I did take some videos, so I won't go through all of that because I did talk about it there. I think I'm going to have to get another 6-foot table. So at the moment I have a 6 and a 4, and I have my new shoe racks that sit up on the table, and they are great. They are really, really good. I also have my grids, but I feel like another table might make things just a little bit easier. So I'll look into getting one of those off Facebook Marketplace, and then of course I'll have to buy some tablecloths. And who is the idiot who decided that white tablecloths were going to be great? And I got the stretchy ones that hook under the legs, you know. I have to soak those in nappy sand every time after markets because they just get dirty because there's sand, you know, dirt and dust and grass and stuff all flying about. But yeah, I kind of regret the white ones. But the other thing that I'm going to do, I think, is paint the top of my tables white, because the scuffs and things on the table actually show through the tablecloths because they're so thin and they're kind of a lycra sort of stuff. So yeah, anyway, some things to fix up and tweak about my market. But I'll stop talking about the market now, and I will go through the videos. Just after 10, I think it's around about 10:15 now. Let's not discuss how long my setup took. It wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't the best. Just got a little bit mixed up because the ground was wet, and I just had trouble trying to sort out where to put things and how to keep things dry while I was setting up. But anyway, it's done. I have left a few things out this week, so there's no mystery bags. Those are all over in the car. I had to shift the car. I had a really good parking spot right in front of my stall, but because it's timed parking and it's Saturday, I had to move that. Anyway, like I said, it's 10:15 and there is absolutely nobody here. The only person that's walked in is a kid from the stall next door and one of the organisers. And that's it. I've been for a walk around, I've had a chat with a few people. There is absolutely nobody here yet, but it is the middle weekend of the school holidays. It is cold and damp, and it is an absolutely beautiful sunny day. No clouds or anything, but it's just not a nice time to be out yet. So hopefully when it warms up, a few more families will come out. But yeah, I'll check in with you later. There's been 0 sales and nobody has walked into the store at all yet. 10:35 and first sale done and dusted, and it was a big one too. I don't think I've ever had anybody spend so much in one go. So she bought that, I'm going to try and find a photo to put up here, the big creamy coloured skull octopus, and I think that's from Farney Toys. I'll correct myself if that's wrong. She bought one of my jellyfish, and she bought a turtle, and so all of that was $85, and I'm a little bit stoked because that's pretty good for the first sale of the day. Covers my stall cost plus a little bit more, and yeah, so hopefully she will be the first of many. It's 12:30 now and I've had 6 sales. It's really, really, really slow. I've had a couple of grandmas with their grandkids come in and bought a few things, but mostly people are just popping their head in and saying, oh, cute, and then you're not going to get anything sold. So yeah, I've sold some axolotls, a few key rings. I'm just looking at my book. A couple of ducks, and yeah, only the other things that I told you about before. So I think we've got about an hour to go. I've taken down one of the walls because it was cold here in the shade, and I've got heat packs on my feet because my feet are freezing, but I took the wall down to let some sun in, so that's nice. And I'm just sitting here working on the centre arm of one of the jag jellyfish. I didn't have much prep to do because I hadn't sold much last time. As I said, I just made a stitch. I don't know if I've got a photo of stitch, but you may have caught it in the videos. I had to go at that bluey and We'll talk about Bluey another time. The stitch did not get any interest. I think maybe one child pointed it out. But having said that, it was a very, very, very quiet day. There were a lot of people walking out at pack up time, and I heard them chatting with each other and saying that they'd sold nothing. So I didn't get a sale, as I said, until 10:30, and then there was like an hour in between some. So yeah, it was a very slow day. That's because it is the winter school holidays here, which goes for 2 weeks, and this is the middle weekend of that school holiday. So because it is cold and miserable here, people do tend to either go down the coast or up the coast, or, you know, some people will fly over to Bali or Fiji or something for a holiday just to avoid the winter for a little while. So yeah, there was hardly anyone there. And I think not school sport, I think the kids' weekend sport's not on during the holidays. So there wasn't even that for them to come afterwards. And there wasn't even many people walking around because it is sort of on the main street of that area, and there wasn't really anybody much walking around. So I think it was a pretty average day for everybody and a bad day for some. So let me just grab my book and I'll go over what the sales were for the day. Class is on. Interestingly, like again, key rings usually go quite well. I only sold 4 key rings, and one single one, and then the 3, because I sell 3 for $10. One lady came back and she has bought a few things for her grown-up daughter a few times. Haven't seen her for a while, so she came back again, and her husband had a chat, and it was really nice to see them again. And it was interesting on the way out, because I was crocheting while I was there, and I've mentioned before that I put these makeup sponges on my brushes I put these makeup sponges on my crochet hooks because holding the crochet hook grinds against the knuckles in my fingers and really quite hurts a lot. So I've just done that. And on his way out, the husband said, did you invent that? And I said, oh, it's just a makeup sponge. And he says, yeah, I can see it's a makeup sponge, but did you invent it? Or did you get the idea from somewhere? And I said, well, I just put them on there because you can get padded crochet hooks. And he says, oh, so it already is a thing. So I'm not sure where he's going with the line of questioning, but he was really trying to drill down into, had I invented this concept? And I don't know if I did. I don't think I would have done. I know that in nursing homes they put tennis balls on the end to help people grip them. But I just figured these are soft and spongy, and yeah, so I don't know, maybe he had a business idea. Don't know. Anyway, if you haven't tried that yet and you do have issues with your hands, so I have arthritis in my hands, and I'm left-handed, but I crochet right-handed, and the knuckles in this one really suffer holding on to the hooks like that. So all of my hooks have got noisy bowl. All of my hooks have got makeup sponges on them, and they're a bit manky, but I'll chuck them in the washing machine one day when I can be bothered. They also come in handy for a pin cushion. So there's all my needles sitting in another one. The clanking noise, I don't know if you can hear it or not. I've just had a big clean up because I'm sure, like a lot of other people, you grab a couple of balls of yarn, you take it out to your working area and say, okay, I'm going to use these, and then you end up with a great big basket full of stuff that you never use. But I had a big clean up, and then I decided I bought this yarn bowl from Lincraft, and you slot the yarn in there, and I don't like it. It doesn't work for me unless I've got something in a ball, but even then it just sort of snags. I mean, that's really quite smooth, but it still snags. So anyway, I've turned my yarn bowl into a hook bowl because I'm sick of having to dig around and try and find where all my hooks have gone. Anyway, back to markets. I didn't put my pictus out, which is the cactus cross pickle that is quite popular, but I could see that it was going to be a very quiet day, so I sort of limited what I put out. Only sold 1 slinky, and if you watched the video from this last market, you might recall that I spoke about a little boy who was heartbroken that he'd missed out on a little tiger, tiny loaf cat. So I'd made 2 of those, and he turned out to be the son of the vendor next door to me. And he was told that as soon as he had sold enough of his own things, he could come and use that money to buy the tiger. He came very, very quickly, and he bought his tiger, and he was happy. So my biggest selling category would have to be my small things. So I changed it up this time. You might recall I had a smaller category called pockets, and they were my cheapest aside from key rings. I've done away with the pockets. I'm going to put them into mystery bag, lucky dip, whatever. So my smallest category is my small, and I put the price on those up $2 a few weeks back. So out of that one, I actually sold 3 axolotls. I've only got 2 left, so I'm going to have an axolotl binge. And I do them a little bit, I do them in pink or in blue, and some of them have the eyes on the front of the head and some of them have the eyes on the tip of the head, and then the tail switches and the gills switch around. So that's a free pattern on Instagram, and you can find the link to that document in my description below. So 3 axolotls. I sold 1, 2, 3, 4 of my rubber ducks. So you might remember I had a duck army accumulating up here. So a fluffy yellow duck went, a glitter blue duck, a variegated green of that gorgeous Millens from Spotlight, and the pink and orange variegated from Aldi. So those ones all gone. A penguin from Lahari Knits and Knots, which was a pattern test that I did. She's also linked below in the description. She has a great penguin and an owl. Very, very simple no-sew patterns and really, really cute. So I did actually have someone asking me for owls and I didn't have any. So I'm going to have to restock the penguin and the owls. 1 pink leggy frog. The tiger went. Out of my chunks, I sold 2 turtles. So one of them was, again, the variegated from the Spotlight Millens, and then the other was an Aldi yellow and the white pink blue yellow variegated. So they were quite cute. I sold 1 big jellyfish, and that was it. 19. I only sold 19 things this time, and I usually sell mid-30s. So that's how slow it was. But because a couple of those were expensive, I was only about 150 behind what I usually take in. So altogether, I took in 234 yesterday, and $45 was for the stall costs, which is going up to 50. Anyway, so yeah, that was my markets. Setup was okay. The day went okay. It was nice and sunny. People were lovely, but yeah, just pretty slow all around. So that ends the market recap portion of events for today. So then the next thing that I wanted to show you was me doing a shameless plug for a friend. So Victoria is a colleague that I work with, and she has Facebook and Instagram and some other places too. Sorry, Victoria, I can't remember, but she has Vicky Vass Designs, and I will link that below as well. She makes beautiful things with the silicone beads, the key rings and pens, and she has a great idea at the store where the kids can come along and make their own. So she's got all of her beads out, and it looks really good. If you're local, then have a look at her. I don't know if her website's up yet, but have a look at her Instagram. She's got some great stuff there, and her Facebook as well. I'm sure I know that she sends orders out. So yeah, if you see something there that you like, well worth it. I think I showed the pen that she made for me, and I have horribly misplaced somewhere. I'm actively looking for it. Anyway, so we did have a chat in an Instagram post not long ago about doing things for crocheters, and so Victoria has dropped this off for me yesterday at the markets, because she had a stall just around the corner from me. This is a 6mm purple crochet hook, as they all should be, because purple goes faster. I don't know if that's going to come out backwards. It's probably going to come out backwards, but it says I crochet so I don't choke people, save a life, send yarn. Can you see that one? That's probably a bit better. Anyway, so this is for me to test drive and see how they go, and then we are hoping that Victoria will be able to get these out to local crocheters who are after a little bit of fun with their crochet. So I'm going to try that, see how it goes. I may have to put one of my sponges on there. Sorry, hold it up where you can see it. I may have to put one of my sponges on there because of the way I hold the hook. So I hold it down here, which is good because I'll still be able to see those fabulous beads. And I can actually feel them with my hand, but they're soft, so I'm okay with that. But it's this part here that grinds on my knuckles, and so I probably will have to put something along there just so that I can actually hold the hook. But this is great because the 6 is the one I use the most, so I am going to go and have a shot with that one today and give her some feedback. If you have any experience with these, because I know that there are other people who make them, so if you have any experience with these, it would be really good if you could leave some comments down there, because I know Victoria often watches these videos, and so any feedback on ways that she could design these, or things that you're looking for when you're buying something like this, might be helpful. I know that she was thinking of branching out into Ami sticks as well. So if you've got any feedback on what you'd like to see in those sort of things, even if you're not local, but you've used them, you know, if you're in the States or if you're in the UK or anywhere else, and you've got experience with these kinds of products, that would be really good if you could share some feedback on the process and what works best. So like just feeling this one is quite heavy at the end, so obviously with all the beads on it, so I don't know if that's an issue for anybody else. I don't think it'll be an issue for me, but as I said, I'm going to try this out later and I'll let her know how it goes. The other thing that I found, which I forgot to mention while I was away, and I actually quite like these, and Victoria, if you're watching, this might be something that you would like to try. Tracy and I went to a yarn store, and the lady had a spinner full of things that looked to me like they were from Temu. I bought Tracy and I a little Crochet Queen badge, and I've got mine in my bag. I think she put hers on her bag as well. And I found these little stitch markers, and I'm not one for stitch markers. I tend to just use the tail end and just poke it through and use that as a guide to where the row ends and begins. But I did buy these little ones. Can you see that? Stop swinging. So it's just 2 beads, and it's got like one of those spaces in between with little sparkles on it, like you see at Pandora. I don't know if that's, I don't even know how you focus this thing. That's better. There you go. So it's just nice, 2 nice little beads. Anyway, so there was a 6-pack of those, 6-pack of those for $6. So I kept half and I gave Tracy half because I'm not going to use 6 of them. I'm probably not going to often use one. So while I was waiting at the airport, gosh, it wasn't even last week, it was the week before, while I was waiting for my flight at the airport, and while I was flying, and while I was waiting at the airport again on the way back and flying on the way back, I was working on another Jag. The jellyfish pattern is linked below. Jag is a pattern that is very, very detailed, takes quite a while for me, and it's one of the only things that I do in cotton. I'm just untangling it here. I have showed you the Jags before. It is a paid pattern on Etsy, but it's free on a website if you don't mind reading off the website. So Jag, you've probably seen jellyfish around that look like this and have that long stitch in there. So I started this one at the airport. I got the bell done on the way. I got the bell done while I was waiting for the flight and on the way there. And then on the way back, I started these tentacles and lost interest very, very quickly because there's 70 chain and then 70 chain and then 70 back bumps on the way back, and back bumps, my goodness. So I'm kind of happy with how this is turning out, but it's really, really tiny because some peanut left out an entire section. And so instead of having 7 sections around, I've only got 5. So it's turning out quite small, and it's got a little pointy bit on the top. This is the center arm that goes underneath the jellyfish there, and then there's all the tentacles. This is what I started on the plane. I did the white bit on the plane. Yesterday I did the purple bit, and after you've done the white and then you go back from the bottom to the top doing the purple, there are 970 stitches from the bottom to the top. 970, which is just nuts. So anyway, yeah, that's how that's turning out. But what I was saying before was the stitch marker. I'm actually using a real life stitch marker, and that's been really helpful here because you do have to count off, because it says, you know, do, for example, 20 of this stitch and then do 40 of this stitch and then do another 300 and something of this stitch and then finish off the last bit. So it's been really helpful to count them off and put that in there. Looking at this now, it's actually coming out quite bunched, and I'm not sure why. The rest of them don't actually do that. So I might even thin out the rest of that purple. That's 2, at the moment, that's 2 double crochet per stitch. So yeah, anyway, 970 stitches just on that round. So I did calculate, and by the time you do that whole center arm, you've got nearly 3,000 stitches. So yeah, you don't get your money back on that one, but I don't care because I absolutely love making them. And that's where I was going to mention too. So I have all along the front of my canopy, I have my slinky worms hanging at one side, and on the other side I have all my jellyfish. So that's my Jags plus all of the any other type of jellyfish I make. And the one thing that I heard over and over and over again at the markets yesterday was people from afar saying, "Oh, jellyfish," and coming up. And as they came around the corner to my stall, they would be saying, "Oh, jellyfish." And so they were really eye-catching. So if you're doing a market, consider having things hanging up the front that are visible from a distance, because they definitely brought people in, even if they didn't buy something, because it was, like I said, it was a slow day. So there were plenty of people coming in just to look at the jellyfish, and one sold. I do also have little jellyfish in one of my other categories, and I hang them on the racks. But the big ones that hang along the front, yeah, they really do bring the people in, as do the slinky worms that hang along the front. So I was considering putting things like that at the back, but after yesterday, given that I could hear how many people were saying, we're making reference to the jellyfish, yeah, they're definitely going to be staying there. So just checking my list of other things. All right, now, I had some big chickens made. So you saw my chicken army, and you saw my duck army and my cat army. The cats, just putting, like I've said before, that little label that says homeless kitties, that really gets people. People were actually yesterday specifically looking for different coloured cats, and I did try to do some more realistic ones, but of course they wanted the realistic ones that I hadn't done. Anyway, that homeless kitties one really catches attention, and what I tried to do is I sort of went with what I've seen in some homeware shops that has got me to buy something, which is when you cluster the same item. So I've got all my little homeless kitties in a basket hanging on my grid. Then next to that, I had a basket full of the chickens, and then above that, I had a basket full of, or two baskets full of the ducks, because I'd made so many of the damn things. But they were all clustered together, and that actually got quite a bit of attention as well. So yeah, that's having them spaced out on the racks looks really good too. But the cluster for those things that are all the same, I feel like that really got some attention yesterday. So I'll continue with that too. All right. So yeah, that's where I was going with that. Sorry. Chickens. I was making some chickens, and I made a big chicken. Now, I've got this yarn. I've spoken about the Sewing Basket before, which is a charity run, not a charity, it's a disability organisation runs a shop where they take donations for different types of craft things, and that's where I get a lot of yarn. Not all of my yarn, but I do get some unusual stuff from there. If you are someone who likes doing wearables or blankets and things, and you're a local, then that would well be worth your trip to have a look at those sort of things. Anyway, I got this yarn from there, and I don't know what it's called. So it's like a fur, but it's quite short. So so if you can see that, that's actually really quite short fur. So this one is variegated pink, bright pink, light pink, dark and light, and then a few different shades of brown that you can see there, or tan sort of colours. It is super duper soft. It is absolutely beautiful. It is a massive, massive ball. I've used this a lot, and I've made like big chickens out of it and small chickens and all sorts of things. I always pair this with another yarn because it is thin. So for the chicken, I paired it with a creamy coloured chenille. Very thin chenille. So just the two of them together makes like a normal thickness sort of chenille. But I don't know what this is called, and I don't want to run out of it. So if you've seen anything like that, it was a big, big, big ball, but I mean, there's still quite a bit left there, and it's so thin that there is quite a lot of meterage there. If you know what that is, please let me know, because I would love that. And even if it came in different colours, it would be really good, because it makes amazing chickens. And it's also nice to put little tufts on things with as well, because it is that soft fur. So that was that one. Next thing that I wanted to show you, and I've been a bit lax in showing this because I was hoping to make another one, and I might do that today, but I did want to show you this. And I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it. This is Leonard the lobster. Look at his little face. Look at those. Leonard is a new pattern from Tracy at Travel Crochet, and you can get the pattern for this on her website, which I will link below, or you can get from Tracy's channel. Leonard is a super easy make. It has really cool features. The way of going back and, oh no, I'm not actually going to go through the details of how to make it. But oops, I've just pulled a thread out because I'm a bit lazy with my threads. Anyway, it's got a lovely little fantail. It's got these beautiful ridges around the back. It's got all of his little Legos there. It's got his little claws and these at the front, and just a really simple quick make. So that was made out of a thin velour, and it's I'm in two minds about sending this one to markets because it's my fault, not the pattern's fault, turned out a bit gappy because I didn't use the right size hook with that yarn. So I'm going to have a go of doing this with blanket. Tracy had a big blue one at her market and that looked great. So I'm going to try that, and also want to try it in the, I don't think I've got one here, but you know, the mysticals in the orange. I think that would be really cool for the lobster as well. So Leonard the Lobster, pattern available from Travel Crochet website, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the website off the top of my head, and I don't want to give you wrong information. I will put it up here and obviously link it below. So Leonard, get yourself a Leonard Lobster pattern. Look at him. I'm thinking you could put him on like a little bed of lettuce or something on your market. Cute. Alrighty, that was Leonard. The only other thing I've done this week of any note is I did another AI pattern video, and I know that that's not everybody's thing, so there does seem to be quite a bit of interest in it, and I do have Mel on Instagram playing along and sharing her makes as well. So my very first one, which I think I showed on my regular video, was a pink baby seal, and it was just a ball with two blurbs on the front that was supposed to be flippers, and it was a baby seal, and it just so was not, and I turned it into a little pig. And I was rather reluctant to take that to the markets given the clientele that we have at markets, but I did take it yesterday and it sold, and one girl said it was the cutest pig she'd ever seen. So I may have to try and remember how I made it, and hopefully I took a photo of it. Don't know that I did, but I can always flip back through the videos anyway. So I've done that one. The next one I did was supposedly a jellyfish, which was like an oval shape with three blobs at the bottom. Not a jellyfish, but I turned it into a cactus. And then this week's make is supposedly a baby chick. It's another blob with four blobs and supposedly a baby chick. So my mission over the next week is to turn this into something else. It shouldn't be too hard given that it's got four little legs, but I haven't actually given that much thought yet. So if you've got any ideas on what I could turn this into, which for me is the funnest part of doing this little activity with ChatGPT. The other thing that I really like is the fact that he cannot write patterns, and so we are all safe. We're not giving him any feedback, and just saying, please make a mystery pattern and don't tell me what it is. And yeah, he's garbage. He's absolute garbage at the patterns. So that's not a chicken. Chickens don't have four legs. Anyway, I know you're not all interested in that, so I won't belabor that point. So I don't know that I have much else to share with you today. I don't have another market for a month. I have a week left of school holidays. Thank goodness. I did not get rich in Saturday Lotto. I just made my money back on my ticket, so I'll have to try that again next week. Yeah, I've got nothing else to tell you about. I will check in again probably maybe midweek. We'll see. I may have some stuff to make. But no market rush really. I'm thinking I might just do some fun stuff. I've got an Afghan, not an Afghan, but I've got granny squares on the go, and I've got a whole pile of baby wool I want to do something with. I'm going to do a trip to the sewing basket probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, just to see what's what, and maybe stop in at Spotlight and have a dig through their mill ends, because I did see Kayla in Canberra, the girl who knots. She found the plain coloured of that beautiful Indian blanket yarn in her mill ends at her Spotlight. So not the variegated, just the plain colours. And yeah, so I would like to be all over that if I can see it. So thank you very much for coming along. I have nothing else of value to add, so I will let you go, and I will go try out this beautiful hook that Victoria has given me to try. And I'll let you know how that goes, and I will let Victoria know how that goes, and hopefully we can hit the crochet market with some useful hooks. If you've got any feedback on this style of thing, please put it in below. That would be really helpful. I hope everybody is staying warm or cool depending on your hemisphere, and if you are local and you are a teacher, I hope you are enjoying the school holidays. I will see you all again shortly. Have a great week. Bye.